The Book of Boba Fett, also marketed as Star Wars, The Book of Boba Fett, is an American space western television series created by Jon Favreau for the streaming service Disney+. It is part of the Star Wars franchise and a spin-off from the series The Mandalorian, taking place in the same time frame as that series and its other interconnected spin-offs after the events of Return of the Jedi. The Book of Boba Fett follows bounty hunter Boba Fett from The Mandalorian and other Star Wars media as he establishes himself as the new crime lord of Jabba the Hutt's former territory. Temuera Morrison stars as the title character, with Ming-Na Wen and Pedro Pascal also starring. All reprise their roles from The Mandalorian and other Star Wars media. A standalone Star Wars film centered on Boba Fett was in early development at Lucasfilm before the company began prioritizing streaming series such as The Mandalorian. A potential spin-off series was first reported in November 2020 and was officially announced in December. Filming had begun by that point, and lasted until June 2021. In addition to Favreau, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, and Colin Wilson return from The Mandalorian as executive producers and are joined by Robert Rodriguez, who directed 3 episodes. The Book of Boba Fett premiered on December 29, 2021, and ran for 7 episodes until February 9, 2022. The series has received generally mixed reviews from critics. Concept and development. Star Wars creator George Lucas created Boba Fett in his April 1978 screenplay draft of The Empire Strikes Back, basing the character on Sergio Leone's Man with No Name. The character needed to be designed quickly, as Lucas had agreed for him to be featured in the Star Wars Holiday Special later that year. The character's design stemmed from initial concepts for Darth Vader, who was originally conceived as a rogue bounty hunter. While Vader became less of a mercenary and more of a Dark Knight, the bounty hunter concept remained, and Fett became an equally villainous but less conspicuous character. Concept artist Ralph McQuarrie influenced Fett's design, which was finalized by and is credited to Joe Johnston. Norman Reynolds and the film's art department built the costume. Fett's armor was originally designed for Super Troopers, and was adapted for Fett as the script developed. Screen-tested in all-white, Fett's armor eventually garnered a subdued color scheme intended to visually place him between white armored rank-and-file Imperial stormtroopers and Vader, who wears black. This color scheme had the added bonus of conveying the gray morality of his character. The character's armor was designed to appear to have been scavenged from multiple sources, and it is adorned with trophies. A description of Fett's armor in the mid-1979 Bantha Tracks newsletter catalyzed rampant speculation about his origins. By 1979, Fett's backstory included having served in an army of Imperial shock troops which had battled the clone troopers of the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars. Despite 2 years of widespread publicity about Fett's appearance in The Empire Strikes Back, script rewrites significantly reduced the character's presence in the film. Fett's musical theme, composed by John Williams, is not music, exactly, but more of a gurgly, viola and bassoon thing orally cross-pollinated with some obscure static sounds. Sound editor Ben Bird added the sound of jangling spurs, created and performed by the Foley artist team of Robert Rutledge and Edward Steedala, to Fett's appearance in Cloud City, intending to make the character menacing and the scene reminiscent of similar gunfighter appearances in Western films. At one point in Return of the Jedi's development, Fett was conceived as being a main villain, but he was finally replaced with the Emperor when Lucas decided to not make a third trilogy of Star Wars. Lucas also considered having Fett fight Lando Calrissian during the Sarlassi sequence. An official reference book states that Fett charges famously expensive fees and that he undertakes only when the mission meets his harsh sense of justice. Daniel Keyes Moran, who wrote a few stories featuring Boba Fett, cited westerns as an influence on his development of the character. Moran said, The difficult thing with Fett was finding a worldview for him that permitted him to proclaim a code given the stark evil that permeated the Empire. Fett pretty much had to be either 1, evil, or 2, an incredibly unforgiving, harsh, greater good sort of guy. The second approach worked and has resonated with some readers. Lucas at one point considered depicting Vader and Fett as brothers in the prequel films, but discounted it as too hokey. In continuing to develop the character in the prequel films, Lucas closed some avenues for expanding the character's story while opening others by establishing that Fett is a clone of a similar bounty hunter, Jango Fett. Lucas considered modifying later editions of Return of the Jedi by adding a shot of Fett escaping the Sarlacc, but decided against it because it would have detracted from the story's focus. Lucas also said that, had he known Fett would be so popular, he would have made the character's death more exciting. In 2014, after Lucas had sold Lucasfilm to Disney, Star Wars historian Jonathan W. Rinsler revealed that Lucas had privately acknowledged that Fett escaped from the Sarlacc. This was canonically established with Fett's appearances in The Mandalorian 6 years later, which led to a spin-off focused on the character, The Book of Boba Fett. Joe Johnston criticized the decision to portray the character without his helmet, although it is part of the plot. Film casting and production. Boba Fett is primarily played by Jeremy Bulloch in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Bulloch's half-brother alerted him to the role. He was cast as Fett because the costume happened to fit as if a Savile Row tailor had come out and made it. He did not have to do a reading or screen test, and Bulloch never worked from a script for either film. Filming the role for Empire lasted 3 weeks. The actor was pleased with the costume and used it to convey the character's menace. Bulloch based his performance on Clint Eastwood's portrayal of the man with no name in A Fistful of Dollars. Similar to the Western character, Bulloch cradled the blaster prop, made the character seem ready to shoot, slightly tilted his head, and stood a particular way. Bulloch did not try to construct a backstory for the character, and said later that the less you do with Boba Fett, the stronger he becomes. Playing Fett in Empire was both the smallest and most physically uncomfortable role Bulloch has played. Bulloch said donning the heavy jetpack was the worst aspect of the role. Bulloch spent 4 weeks on Return of the Jedi. He was unaware of Fett's demise before filming began and was very upset by the development. He would like to have done more with Fett. Still, Bulloch believed killing Fett made the character stronger, and that his weak death makes fans want the character to return. Bulloch thought a scene created for the 1997 special edition in which Fett flirts with one of Jabba the Hutt's dancers was not in keeping with the character's nature. A younger version of the character was played by Daniel Logan in Attack of the Clones, which establishes that Boba is a clone of his father, Jango. Logan had not seen any of the Star Wars films prior to being cast as Fett, but he watched the original trilogy at Lucas' request. The actor had to rely on his imagination for the blue screen filming. Both Bulloch and Logan had also expressed interest in reprising their role of Fett in the planned Underworld TV series, but the series remains undeveloped. Other portrayals. Appearances. The character of Boba Fett made his first public appearance at the San Anselmo Country Fair Parade on September 24, 1978. In the parade, the Boba Fett costume was worn by Duane Dunham, who was working at the time as an assistant film editor before later becoming a film and television director. The character debuted on television 2 months later in an animated segment produced by Toronto-based animation firm Nelvana Productions for the Star Wars Holiday Special. Fett appears as a mysterious figure who saves Luke Skywalker, Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2 from a giant monster, only to be revealed as a bounty hunter working for Darth Vader. After his image and identity were revealed in the holiday special, costumed Fett characters appeared in shopping malls and special events, putting up wanted posters of the character to distinguish him from the franchise's Imperial characters. Skywalker Saga. Original trilogy. Prequel trilogy. Television. iDroids/I. None. I The Clone Wars/I. None. I The Mandalorian/I. None. I The Bad Batch/I. None. I Vision/I. None. I The Book of Boba Fett/I. None. Other media. In the first issue of Marvel Comics' Darth Vader, the title character hires Boba Fett to capture the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. In the concurrent Star Wars comic, Fett tracks the pilot, Luke Skywalker, to Tatooine, although the latter escapes after a brief fight. Fett then tells Vader the pilot's surname, unknowingly informing the Sith Lord that he has a son. Fett also features in Marvel's Bounty Hunters, which is set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The comic miniseries War of the Bounty Hunters is set in the same era, and will be preceded by stand-alone comics including tie-ins with Star Wars, Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, and Dr. Aphra. Fett appears as a playable character in Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2, as well as a number of Star Wars video games for mobile devices. iLegends/I. None. I The Bounty Hunter Wars/I. None. I Boba Fett, A Practical Man/I. None. Unproduced works. A planned live-action TV series developed by Star Wars creator George Lucas before the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney, under the working title Star Wars: Underworld, would have featured Fett. I Star Wars 1313/I. None. I The Clone Wars/I episodes. None. Stand-alone film. Reception. Boba Fett is a cult figure and one of the most popular Star Wars characters. In 2008, Boba Fett was selected by Empire magazine as the 79th greatest movie character of all time, and he is included on Fandomania's list of the 100 greatest fictional characters. IGN ranked Boba Fett as the 8th top Star Wars character, due to his status as a fan favorite and cult following. He personifies danger and mystery, and Susan Mays calls Fett the unknowable Star Wars character who delivers mythic presence. Although Tom Bissell asserts that no one knows why Boba Fett has become so popular, nor cares why, both Lucas and Bullock cite Fett's mysterious nature as reasons for his popularity. Bullock, who has never fully understood the character's popularity, attributes it to the costume and the respect Fett garners from Darth Vader and Jabba the Hutt. Fett's addition to the special edition of A New Hope was criticized by Screen Rant, which called it pointless fan service. The initial Boba Fett toy, more than Fett's actual film appearance, might be responsible for the character's popularity. Henry Jenkins suggests children's play helped the character take on a life of its own. Moran said Vader's admonition specifically to Fett in The Empire Strikes Back, "No disintegrations," gives Fett credibility. He was interested in Fett because the character is strong, silent, brutal. Jeter says that even when Fett appears passive, he conveys capability and ruthlessness. Bissell credits Bullock for giving Fett effortless authority in his first scene in The Empire Strikes Back, using such nuances as cradling his blaster and slightly cocking his head. Fett's small role in the film may actually have made the character seem more intriguing. Logan, who was a Young Artist Award nominee for his portrayal of Fett, compares Fett to that boy in school who never talks and who attracts others' curiosity. Bissell adds that Boba Fett, along with other minor characters like Darth Maul and Kyle Katarn, appeals to adolescent boys' images of themselves, essentially badass but honorable about it. This tension and the absence of a clear evil nature offer Fett dramatic appeal. Furthermore, Fett is cool because he was designed to be cool, presenting a wicked ambiguity akin to John Milton's portrayal of Satan in Paradise Lost and Iago in William Shakespeare's Othello. Bissell compares Fett to Beowulf, Ahab, and Huckleberry Finn, characters too big for their original presentation, and apt for continued development in other stories. Moran finds Fett reminiscent of the man with no name. Fett has been featured extensively in pop culture and parodies. Breckenmeyer provides his voice in various Robot Chicken sketches. Nerdcore rapper MC Chris included a Star Wars-themed song titled Fett's Vet on his 2001 debut album. The creator of the Spartan helmets for the 2006 film 300 painted one of them to look like Fett's helmet. The San Francisco Chronicle describes Boba Fett fans as among the most passionate, and the character is important to Star Wars fan culture. Boba Fett's popular following before the character even appeared in The Empire Strikes Back influenced Damon Lindelof's interest in developing Lost across multiple media. Between filming The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Mark Hamill pitched the idea that Fett was Luke Skywalker's mother to George Lucas, which he didn't like. In about 2000, a feminist campaigned online to have the character unmasked as a woman. Fan parodies include Boba Fett, a cosplay intergalactic booty hunter created by David James. In I the Clone Wars /I. None. In I the Book of Boba Fett /I. None.